Is there something that the celebrities or athletes that you have worked with do differently than us?
Celebrities, they have whole teams, and that's one thing that doesn't get talked about enough. Athletes understand the benefits of rest. That's one thing athletes and celebrities do very well. They understand the schedule and they apply a cycle to their well-being. You have to understand how to incorporate cycles.
They don't go hard all year long. They have seasons. I'm sure everybody is like, okay, 3 months, I'm going to go hard, and then I'm going to have my summer body. And you're like, no.
I have 4 to 6 weeks where I'm going to lock in. Everything is perfect. The sleep is great. Mindfulness is great. The recovery tools are great. I'm going to be eating well and I'm going to be working out hard. And that's your training camp. Carb cycling really is the easiest. That's what I use with a lot of the VS women and a lot of my clients.
We're in that time where everyone's like, I'm going to get like shredded for summer. I want to get in the best shape. If somebody is in that place, or if they already have a head start and they're just wanting to quote unquote tone out, how do they know where to even start?
Everybody want to look good. Aesthetically, it'll help you look good. If you have the right mix of those different types, you're going to look good.
Welcome.
We're back.
We're so back. Wait, can you talk about what you're working on right now?
Oh, yeah. Working on a book. So getting that done with Simon & Schuster called Design Yourself, coming out in 2027. Working on getting my master's in public health because I really do want to approach it from that lens as well. Some Nike projects, some summer stuff coming up. I'm going to do a lot of free community workouts in the city, down in Seaport, hopefully. But yeah, the book, the master's degree, Nike projects, the big three, holy triumphant.
That is like such an undertaking. I just can't even imagine.
But but I think it's important for me to do. Like always, it's always been a little bit my albatross, but I think people want a little bit of a different take in the space, but I look at it from more of a reporting view, like a little bit of cultural commentary. I'm going to mix in my own like personal stories, memoir-esque, but also my time working in the industry, and then just very digestible takeaways that provide frameworks that anybody can apply. Because basically I think people are too hard looking for the right answers, but they don't understand the right questions to ask. And because science is always changing, by the time you open up my book, something in it will be antiquated, but that's fine. The questions you'll ask and where you're trying to go will always be there. So if you understand that trajectory, it's like school. I think everything becomes a lot easier, even if the distinct components or facts, quote unquote, have shifted slightly.
If anybody should be writing a book, it should be you. I told you last time, or I said it in the intro, I'm like, you're a philosopher. Like the way that you think about things.
Thank you. I mean, that was very kind. That was the best intro I've probably ever had in any podcast. So thank you.
I mean, you just have a way of framing things differently from other people in the industry. And you can tell that you think a lot, So we'll do a part 3, everybody. We're saying it right now, committing to it. Since you've been on, I like to do something with my guests this year to open the show. And that is ask them what is making you well right now. It could be anything. It could be funny. It could be whatever. You have a lot on your plate. So what's making you well?
That's a great question. What's making me well is reflecting. Like nighttime routines have always been tough for me. So reflecting on the day, understanding what I have to do the next day, kind of calms me down. So I could literally feel kind of the tension leaving my body as I do that reflection. And taking time in the morning to also just recalibrate before I take on the day. So that's definitely something that's making me well, and having a bigger choice to also like engage close friends in my life and not kind of isolate myself, because sometimes I do that just with everything that I have on my plate. And cooking, like I'm falling in love with cooking again. I love cooking. So that's definitely what's making me well.
What are you cooking?
I'm a big oatmeal guy. So
me too.
I grind chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, put it in the base, caramelize some bananas and apples as the topping, a little coconut oil, maple syrup, cinnamon, put it on top. I love like breakfast bowls. Mm-hmm. And then I've recently got some new plates. So I love, when you have those big plates that also could be bowls, so you can make like a bibimbap kind of style lunch or dinner.
The best.
That's what I like.
Yeah. I like to eat everything out of a bowl.
Right?
Yeah. It tastes better.
Yeah.
And the presentation and everything.
It's kind of
cute. It looks better. Yeah. You're very introspective. You're a thinker. You're an intellectual. You're a lot of things. You do reflect a lot. And I'm curious, like, if you just naturally have the discipline to do those things, like you said, nighttime routine is hard for you. I like to do kind of a mini audit of my day at the end of the night. But I find that for me, like pain and discomfort are the great motivators. When everything is going fine in my life, it is so hard for me to have the discipline to sit down and do those things, which is like bookend the day with the things that I know are going to make me feel better and that I should be consistent with. How do you find the discipline to do that? Is it just because right now you feel like, oh my God, I have so much on my plate. I need to take this time. I need to have this moment, or is it innate?
It's definitely learned, but one thing that always sticks with me when I went to a Jesuit high school, and one of the things was like, why are you only praying when things are bad? So basically it's the ritual. It's like the discipline or the ritual of doing it consistently, even when things are going good. So perhaps you could tap into that energy. So the thought process for me a lot of the times is like, I think you deserve to feel good. Like you deserve to have good things. So when those things are happening, don't just think that that's just the result of your work. So that could be friends, family, whatever, or some other divine source. So the thought process really is like hubris is the downfall of man. So when things are going good, really give thanks. To me, it's a little bit of a protective measure, a little superstition against hubris. And then when things are going bad, don't think they'll always be that way forever. So also give thanks, and then also calm you down and perhaps find a way out of it, essentially. So it's a mix. I won't say I'm like stringently disciplined. Everything is kind of cyclical for me. There's sometimes, of course, I'm on it, others that I'm not. But I think like ritual practices go very much a long way, and you don't need to do a lot of it. So if it's like, all right, in the morning, I know I'm going to take 5 minutes. At night, I know I'm going to take 5 to 10. And then I think sometimes when you self-distance and you get a little bit of perspective, or you can bring in advice of someone else, you could perhaps see things aren't going as bad as you think they are. And sometimes they may not be going as good as you think they are. So that kind of makes sure, we're entrepreneurs. So I look at it also a rainy day philosophy. It's like, if it's really raining, like in a good way, if like the bounty is coming in, why would I relax? You know what I mean? Like, let me store up. So when things might not be going as well, I don't have to have that sense of like gross anxiety that will make things worse. It was like, all right, let me actually like move an inch at a time quickly, recalibrate, and know that I'll get to the other side. But those rituals ground you in that thought process.
Yeah, I think we talked last time about like my sobriety and that I'm in recovery. And I learned there that like I have a daily reprieve based on the maintenance of my spiritual condition, which has to be a daily thing, because whatever spiritual stuff I did yesterday, I wake up with a blank slate, right?
I think discipline's overrated. I find it interesting that you talked about the uncomfortable thing, where it's like, that's what drives you. That like people think that's what drives me. That I like a comfortable life. But my thing is, I think you have to do momentary hard things that then expand your comfort zone. So I see the value in like that short term. But I'm not, again, like, and God bless him, like, I'm not a Goggins guy. Like, that's not the type of person I am. It's like, always do hard things. No. It's like, no, we often live a life of comfort and leisure. So, of course, do hard things so that skill doesn't atrophy. But you do it strategically just to expand your comfort zone. And then if you always hold on to those ritualistic practices, to me, then, or gratitude, then the expansion of that comfort zone doesn't atrophy. So I want a life as comfortable as possible. And I want to then be able to provide that to other people or give those tools, but also understand it's not just about me. And like, we got to go out into the real world and hopefully make that a little better too.
I always say like, I want to live at a 7. I don't want to be at a 10 very often, because that's not good for me either.
I feel like, that. That's real. Raise your baseline.
Yeah. Especially like being in recovery. Like I didn't just drink when things were bad. I drank when things were good. I loved a celebratory party situation. Like it wasn't only to deal with traumas and things like that. I think that that's a big misconception. So for me, the high highs and the low lows are dangerous. I got to live in the middle somehow. And I think that those practices help me to maintain that stability and have less turbulence, whether it's really, really good or really, really bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've kind of just said the core tenets of a lot of religions out there.
Yeah.
It's like finding the middle way and keep plugging at it.
Yeah, true. Okay. Well, I want to set the tone here a little with my this or that round that I love.
Love a game show.
Yes. Cardio or strength training?
Oof. I just can only do one. I'm going to say strength training, because you can manipulate strength training to get some cardio.
Good answer. Morning workout or evening workout?
Morning, even though I'm not a big morning guy.
Inside the gym or outdoor training?
Do I have an equipment outside?
Sure.
Outdoor.
Heavy weights, fewer reps. Lighter weights, more reps.
I'm going to go heavy weights, fewer reps for me. But
Okay.
even though, wear and tear on my body from football, but
True.
heavier weights, fewer reps.
Rest day or active recovery?
I love a rest day.
Yeah. I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
Do you like to train alone or train with a partner?
I prefer to train alone or with very close friends.
Mhm.
I'm not a big group class guy, though.
Are you like headphones on in the zone? Just
When I'm by
nobody
myself?
talk to me? Yeah.
Sometimes I like to work out without music.
Oh.
It gets me more into my body. I think a lot of times we use like music of kid is a performance enhancer too, but sometimes it pulls us too far outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like the meditation is being without music.
That is very true that it's a performance enhancer. Sometimes I push myself too much because of the music.
I can see that for you.
I really do. My trainer this summer, like we had certain albums that we would just put on repeat and I would just keep going. Like,
what's your favorite workout album?
At the time, we were doing that Weekend album. Like,
okay.
All the way through, every single time.
Wow.
We had a few skips, but yeah, that was my vibe this summer. Pilates or yoga?
I'm Pilates. I get a good stretch in there, like nothing else. I really do like reformer Pilates.
How often are you doing that?
I usually go when I'm on the road, but it's usually 1 to 4 times a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
love a Pilates,
resets
man.
my hips like crazy.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's so high because a lot of times everybody needs to feel like they got a hard workout and a harder one. Sometimes the reps are a little too high for me.
Yeah.
But I do like, reformer Pilates. Went to a really good studio out in West Hollywood though. What's it called? Be Kind Studios? Yeah.
Next time you're there, let me know. I'll take you to
go.
Forma,
Forma,
to the 2-person reformer. It's like private, which
Okay.
I love because I don't necessarily like being in a big class because I can feel when my form is wrong. And sometimes you don't necessarily get like the hands-on.
Yeah, that's facts.
And I love this one that I go to. It's the original Forma. It's the one that she started out of her house or her mom's house, Liana Levy. And you can go in and it's either always just me or me and one other person. And you can say like, these are the things I want to work on today. This is the kind of energy that I have. So you can really tailor it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you there.
Blessed.
Okay. Last one. Tracking everything or going by how you feel?
Long term, going by how you feel. Short term, moments of tracking everything.
Okay.
There's a lot of nuance with that one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll circle back. If you're doing your summer glow up right now, which I'm sure you are if you are listening to this episode, this is one of the easiest upgrades that you can make that actually moves the needle with your skin. So you guys probably know I've been using the Bon Charge Red Light face mask for a long time now, and it really has become one of those really low effort, high return habits. I put it on for about 10 to 15 minutes in the morning while I'm doing my meditation, and it's totally hands-free, super lightweight. It doesn't get hot or uncomfortable, and what I love about this mask in particular is that it uses both red light and near infrared light, which helps support collagen and elastin production. So it's not just a surface glow, it's really working deep to help skin look smoother, firmer, and more even over time, which is exactly what I want going into summer when makeup gets lighter and skin is definitely more on display. I have tried many other red light masks before, and honestly, they just don't compare for me. Bon Charge removed the blue and green light wavelengths that can mess with your circadian rhythm, which I really appreciate because I use this at night sometimes. You can also switch between red and near infrared in one device. It's zero EMF, zero flicker, sleek, comfortable. It just feels like a really premium mask. Since I started using it, my skin looks so much healthier, so much more even. It's just fresher. It's that subtle but noticeable difference that makes everything else sit better. So if you want to level up your skin before summer, go to boncharge.com and use the code BLONDE to save 15%. That's boncharge.com, code BLONDE for 15% off. This time of year is when a lot of people start thinking about a reset, as we were talking about in this episode. Summer is coming, routines shift, travel picks up. It's a natural moment to get back into healthier rhythms, and that is where Prolon comes in. Prolon is a 5-day plant-based nutrition program designed to help support a structured reset in a science-backed way without extreme cleanses or unsustainable crash approaches. Everything is mapped out for you, including soups, snacks, and beverages, so there is no guesswork and no complicated planning. What sets it apart here really is the research. Prolon was developed over decades with USC's Longevity Institute and is backed by top US medical centers. It's been studied for its impact on metabolic health, energy, skin appearance, and healthy weight loss while supporting muscle. So if you are looking for a more intentional reset heading into summer, something structured, research-backed, and easy to follow, this is definitely an option to consider. What I appreciate about Prolon is that it does incorporate snacks and soups, and you are not just having to completely fast, which I think for women can be actually detrimental, but you still get the same benefits, which is amazing. If you're ready for your own reset for a limited time, Prolon is offering my listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/blonde. That's PROLONLIFE.com/blonde to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/blonde. Last time you were on, we were just talking about this before we started recording. The episode went crazy because for a few reasons. I mean, one, it's you. Like, you're an amazing communicator and a very accomplished trainer and jack of all trades, as people will learn in that episode if they go back and listen, which I suggest they do if they haven't. And also it was a timing thing because we were talking about Victoria's Secret and everybody was like, it was right after the show came out.
Yeah, it was perfect time. I think it was the lighting though. The lighting had me. Even my friends were like, Joe, you're an attractive guy, but damn, she lit that well, huh?
I always say, by the way, this is why I'm always like with the angles and everything before we start recording, I'm like, the better we look, the better the episode is going to do. Such is the way that algorithms work in this day and age. And now we're competing against like AI podcasters.
That's true, which is crazy.
But I'm curious, did that open up a conversation at all? I'm sure you were getting like so many
DMs.
you
definitely getting a bunch of DMs and questions. It just seems that everybody's just kind of confused on some basic components, and it's a little bit more nuanced, but also a lot more simpler than I think people think. But it goes back to wanting to be heard. I think a lot of the times with women, especially with the medical establishment or even with their partners, whatever, they're not actually heard. So it's a thought process of like, okay, especially from a male vantage point, I'm hearing you, I'm addressing this, I'm giving you what I've learned from very notable people that I've worked with. And then I think just kind of giving it in a, not necessarily soft language, but like just kind of a matter of fact, and let's distill this down. Unfortunately, a lot of other podcasts, I think people are trying to make, one, they probably haven't been in, a lot of people haven't been in the trenches. Like they actually haven't spent time in the gym. The other side of it is they're trying to make you believe that their way is the best way. Like at the end of the day, probably to my detriment, I have nothing to sell you. A bunch of people always ask me, can I buy a program from you? Probably I'll set it up just to solve that problem. I have nothing to sell you. I'm not trying to make you believe that I know more. It's simply a thought process of like, this is how we approach it. This will work. This is why we did it. So I just think people appreciated a bit of more matter of factness about it. And yeah, I don't know. The comments were very kind. Shout out to everybody. But I think people just are like, hey, all right, this will be a lifelong pursuit for me. How do I actually solve some of these problems? How do we make it as simple as possible? And providing those frameworks, as we were talking about earlier, I think everything goes back to frameworks. Like my goal in life is just to be less wrong. I'm never going to be completely right. And if I could give you those frameworks for how to understand certain things, and then you apply it to your N of one, that goes a long way. And a lot of other times people are always like, this is the only way, or blah, 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 blah. But that's not even what the science says. So I don't know. It went well. People appreciated it. And I hope we give them another great one this one.
I know it's very rare that it's like 100% positive feedback. Somebody always has something to say. And I don't think I saw one negative comment about that. But I think it is a testament to your very practical, pragmatic approach and your humility.
I look at it as service journalism, which is the thought process that, or human-centered journalism. Like I speak with the thought process of, I want to talk to the person who's actually listening. The people who are listening now are part of our conversation, even if they're not talking. A lot of other individuals, unfortunately, it's just A and B. It's like us talking, listen to me because I'm so smart. And then we were just like, oh, the audience is so lucky to be listening to us. It's not how it works. It's like they're actively listening. Let's help solve a problem. Let's talk about it. And yeah, I just try to stay humble as possible. I didn't make the pros. You know, I've growing up thought I'd be a pro athlete. I didn't do that. I'm not going to be a doctor, even if I get my master's. Like, so to an extent, it's like humility is very important to me. And yeah, like I find problem solving intensely entertaining and interesting. To me, that's what's fascinating. Like, I think health and wellness needs a sports radio moment. Like, I think we're like high quality sports radio commentators, and we're commentating on a sport of life, and we're giving you the details, the stats, the whatever analytics that you probably not fully understand, help you understand it. So then when you're watching the sport or actively engaging in the sport, you understand it better. That's how I look at, you know, my work.
Okay. So given all of that, I'm curious what you think the most pervasive or persistent myths are that you see in your line of work today, because as you've been saying, there are so many. And again, it's like the loudest people get the most attention, not necessarily the most qualified. So like, what are these myths that you're seeing or that people are coming to you with asking for clarification on?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are confused on what can and can't be done. Like, you know, Instagram, social media now is so clickbaity. So you see you know, everybody's in the TCM now, or everybody's doing the lymphatic stuff, or you know, there's certain trends that go around that hold salience, but then I think people get confused about what is and isn't true. So I guess to directly answer your question, some of the biggest myths, this one's kind of a combo. It's a thought process that you can't tone. It's a thought process that you also can. We talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but it's a little bit of a middle ground. Like, you can improve the body's muscular tone. Like, there shouldn't be that much of a debate. I think sometimes though, the way that's positioned within certain activities, and somebody, you know, said it well, was just like, you can't really tone muscle you don't have. And then you can't really tone poor body composition. So at the end of the day, what a lot of people just want is like a little less body fat, a little bit of improved body composition through muscularity. So there's a middle ground there.
I have a question about that, because you were talking about improving tone with like the Victoria's Secret girls. Yeah. So somebody has to have a foundation of having the right body composition by putting on muscle, lowering body fat, presumably, to then tweak the tone. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So essentially it's then you look at, okay, can I do sort of isometric exercises, whatever, more Pilates oriented, that then get me better in tune with my body, so that then perhaps my core is better activated. That will then lead to better tone overall. So the thought process really sometimes is like, can the muscles work in symmetry as they should, or the whole body? So a lot of times when women say, I got one client, love her, like Harley Vieira Newton, getting her ready for her wedding. She was like, I just want to tone up. I can't really figure out like how to get my legs right. And it was because she wasn't working her glute med. She was working too much in the front of her hip. So the front of her hip looked bigger compared to her glute. And really what she said she was trying to tone was that she was really trying to get the body in better symmetry. So, but to that point, it's just simply like, yes, you do exercises that help you improve your aerobic base, right? So you just have to get in general shape. Then you start to tone because you're getting stronger through weightlifting. And then we're utilizing certain nuances associated with the exercise to improve how it looks at rest. So that thought process goes, do we have to train just the brain to better activate those muscles? And that was the neurogenic tone discussion. Or do we have to just get the muscle look better at rest? So that's like some myogenic tone work. So that's simply just like, all right, we're going to really just strength train. And then sometimes we just do power training. But you can tone. And tone is just simply what most people are missing, is that tone is just improved body composition. That's all. Yeah. That's all.
I'm kind of laughing because you're so knowledgeable. Like, I need you to break all of that down. But I'm just picturing like you seeing something on social media that's so overgeneralized.
Yeah, that's what bothers me.
Oh my God. Like, oh, I'm going to get long, lean, and toned because I'm going to Pilates.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a myth. But it sounds like there are so many steps that need to come before that.
That's actually a very good point. What we're missing now is not that they're myths. It's overgeneralizations are a better word. And because everybody's trying to capture within the first, 5 seconds, those overgeneralizations are what's prevalent, even if there is some credence to it. So yeah, most people might end up going to Pilates and get more tone because they're having short-term stress reductions, as we talked about, that then will make them more calm and better at rest. Pilates is like dynamic rehab, which is just like, I'm getting used to how my body essentially feels as it should. And then that makes it, better when I do my strength training, that my body's more working as an integrative unit. So overgeneralizations right now are a bigger issue than myths, because myths were essentially the result of nobody giving value to previous bodies of research that we had. Overgeneralizations are now individuals are listening to podcasts or just looking at an abstract on a study they don't fully understand, taking those small tidbits of information and then putting it on a dynamic video clip that then makes you believe in what they're saying. And we're seeing that in so many disciplines. And that is actually worse than myths, because myths you can easily debunk. Overgeneralizations take a lot of time, and a lot of people aren't fully invested in that. So yeah, that's fair. Like overgeneralizations are a much bigger issue.
So what does somebody do if we were talking before too, like we're in that time where everyone's like, I'm going to get like shredded for summer. I want to get in the best shape. Summer bodies are made in the winter. I know people hate that one because every body is a summer body. We know. Okay. we're just repeating. Yeah. But if somebody is in that place, or if they already have a head start and they're just wanting to quote unquote tone up, but they don't have somebody like you, and they just see something on social media, like the girl that does Pilates 5 days a week and she's this big and she's lean and she has muscle tone and all of that. How do they know where to even start? And like to your point about your client, it would take going to somebody like you to even recognize that she was overtraining one area and undertraining another. So like, what does, again, that lay person do when they're just like, okay, I want to get in shape. I want to get from A to B. What are the steps?
Well, we approach it a couple ways. One, for somebody that like has access or funds, there's typically a framework that's called you assess, you diagnose, and you integrate, and then you kind of test and retest, see what's going on. So basically, you want to assess. You could do certain assessments on your own, say waist to hip measurements, whatever, or you could essentially say, hey, I'm going to find a local professional in my area. I'm going to go to a physical therapist. I could also, go to a primary care practitioner or whatever if you want to get your blood drawn, but say the two as it relates to the body, physical therapist that could screen me really quick to let me know if there's anything going on with my body or if I'm having pain. Then I could go to a trainer. I could get a trainer for 1 to 3 sessions, let them know very plainly, like, hey, I just want the framework to be able to do this on my own. I just need you for 3 sessions. I need you to help me understand what's going on and illuminate some blind spots that I might not have. So now that you've had those assessments from that data, you can then diagnose. So now I can see what's going on. Are my ankles too tight? Or is my core not working properly? Whatever. Or do I have some weaknesses? Now I'm able to diagnose that. So then I have that. I can come up with a plan. And then you start to implement that and then see what's working. The issue is the first 2 steps people are missing. They just see something, then they try to just go implement it. They don't know if it's working or it's not. So for most people, it's like those 2 big steps: assess and then diagnose. And then, I know how we all feel about AI models, but then once you're able to have that, there is some better value of being able to input that into an LLM, and perhaps they could give you something that might illuminate a blind spot you previously didn't have about yourself. But that is one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is really, if you don't have access to those things, you then first say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. Let's call it a washout period. And you're just going to focus on key biomotor skills. That you're going to focus on your strength, you're going to focus on your conditioning, and you're going to focus on your mobility or flexibility. And then you say, okay, I'm going to find a free program that provides me with those things. So I'm just going to get in a general shape first before I try to get more prescriptive and diagnostic. And if you just take like 4 to 6 weeks to be, especially if you're new to this, you don't have to go all out. You simply say, I'm just going to get in shape first. And that's once you do work on those big 3 things. You're going to have strength, work on strength, do strength once or twice a week. Just go on YouTube, whatever, find an app.
Are we breaking it down by like legs and back day,
just
arms
do full body. Let's do, you know what? Just do what, what's the
Simple
number,
as possible.
what's the number one thing? What's actually, why are personal trainers even good? What's the number one thing that's the most important as it relates to physical activity?
Accountability.
Adherence. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're not adhering to anything, then that's the key thing. So the thought process is, at first, just do what you will do. Like, don't be like, all right, I got to do an upper body split, lower body split, whatever. You're like, I'm going to do 30 minutes of full body strength. Or if you want to do upper body, lower body split, whatever you like. And then think of that too, 2 to 3 days of cardio, and then throw in like your mobility recovery days and be like, all right, for 4 to 6 weeks, I don't have to get super specific. I just have to adhere. And then from there, then once you see how your body's responding, we can then go. So everything has a cycle, everything has a wave, but the two big things, and this is the most best thing about all the faults of the industry that there may be, the best thing now is that you can assess. You have direct to consumer ability to get things that help you assess and then diagnose. And if you understand how to do that, your life will change. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the rapid fire question. It goes, do you go off of intuition or do you go off of, monitoring all the time? Short-term monitoring leads to long-term intuition. And we're missing the bridge between those two things.
If you've accepted that bloat, cravings, and that post-meal crash after eating is your new normal, I am challenging you to feel better, and I'm giving you the cheat code, which is the Just Thrive Gut Essentials Bundle. It pairs 2 clinically proven gut superstars, Just Thrive Probiotic and Digestive Bitters, my personal favorite. Just Thrive Probiotic is the only probiotic clinically proven to arrive 100% alive in your gut for a difference you can actually feel. I'm talking less bloat, better energy, and even better skin. And then there's Digestive Bitters. So these pack 12 science-backed herbs in one tasteless capsule that jumpstarts your digestion and even supports GLP-1 production so cravings don't control you. And together they will transform the health of your gut so you can feel like your best self and fast. There's even 100% money-back guarantee. So you literally have nothing to lose except for the bloat. For over a decade, Just Thrive has been helping thousands of people take control of their health with science-backed solutions you can trust, from their award-winning probiotic to their full line of gut, immune, and brain health supplements. Just Thrive is ready to help you live your healthiest life. So take the Just Thrive Feel Better Challenge today and save 20% on your first Gut Essentials bundle. Visit justthrivehealth.com/well and save 20% with the promo code WELL. See the difference for yourself or get a full product refund, no questions asked. Again, that is justthrivehealth.com/well, promo code WELL. Okay, since we are talking about glowing up in this episode and tightening up on routines, maybe because you want to achieve a certain physique for summer or you just want to feel better overall, there is one habit that we didn't talk about in this episode, but that we all know can be detrimental to progress, and that is alcohol. I'm not here to preach to anybody. I don't judge either way, but you guys know that I've been sober for a long time. And I have to say, I really appreciate this cultural shift that we are seeing into more functional beverages and drinks that can support your body and your nervous system that don't have alcohol in them. And that is why I love Vesper by Peak. It is a non-alcoholic, adaptogenic aperitif designed to help you relax, feel subtly uplifted, and stay socially open without compromising how you feel the next day. I feel like it really gives you that exhale at the end of the day, that signal to your body that it's safe to unwind while keeping your mind clear and your energy steady. It's really thoughtfully formulated. It has L-theanine, tart cherry, lemon balm, and elderflower to help calm the body and mind and release physical tension. So whether you are socializing a lot or you're just looking for a new wind down ritual, this will definitely support both of those. If you want to redefine your evening ritual, you can secure up to 20% off for life and begin your intentional wind down routine at peaklife.com/well. That's PIQUE life.com/well, peaklife.com/well. You get more attunement once you've been doing something more consistently. I want to ask you about the cardio piece, because everyone is listening going, okay, I'm doing 2 days a week. Yeah, no. They just want the formula. Yeah. 2 days a week of strength. I'm going to do full body strength, weights, whatever. There's so many good qualified trainers online that have programs. And like you said, maybe YouTube. When it comes to cardio, there's so many different things. Everyone's doing like VO2 max. People are doing HIIT. People are doing 10K steps. Yes. Some people are distance runners. Like, again, is it like the best cardio is the cardio that you're going to do?
Yes. But okay. Yes.
I ask you very simplistic questions, and I know you want to answer. You're like,
Yes, the best adherence. The best cardio is the one that you will do. Okay. And you know how to do correctly. But the thought process then becomes, how do I use that increased adherence doing the ones that I like that will then sprinkle in the other ones that will be good for me. So what you just asked is the difference between, let's say steps, let's say distance running, which you really just mean low to medium intensity, steady state work, which you just don't have to do with running. You could do on other machines too, or ADD cardio, I like to say, mix it up. Or said HIIT or sprinting or sit, which is like sprint interval training, or super maximal interval training. So really you have to think about those three tiers. So when we break down cardio, that's why we really call it conditioning. Joel Jamieson is a legend in this space if anybody wants to dig deeper into this, but conditioning is basically the thought process of modulating different levels of intensity to have different benefits as it relates to our well-being when we work our cardiovascular system. So when we look at those different levels, we have supra or very high. We have super maximal interval training, whatever, SMIT or sprint interval training, which is basically harder than hard. Like you're going harder than you think you can actually physically go. Then you have high intensity interval training, which is usually about 85 to 90% of max. Then we go medium, then to low, and then the steps. Steps is basically the baseline of non-exercise activity. So you need that. That's your base. So you got to be moving throughout the day. Because as we know and research shows, if you still work out but are too sedentary, then that might blunt some of the beneficial impacts of working out. So those brief exercise snacks, brief moments of just getting your steps in, parking a car a little bit further, going on your lunch walks, that's big. And especially for women, that'll help continuous movement, essentially reduce stress, make sure you're drinking water. Because one of the things goes like just being dehydrated, you have a negative response to stress. So that serves that purpose. Then we climb up the ladder. So we get into more lower intensity to medium intensity. So then we start to say, okay, what are the changes that we're seeking to have here? So lower intensity, steady state. And if you look at research, compares it against HIIT. Yeah, the body composition changes aren't that different. With HIIT, there is the chance that you'll have a higher benefit of maintaining your muscle mass. But again, it goes to adherence. Low intensity, steady state does what? Typically, people from a psychological standpoint enjoy it better. They enjoy it better than HIIT. So if you do that consistently, then you sprinkle in the HIIT. But low intensity, steady state work also improves your aerobic respiration. So basically, you're also going to have better recovery parameters as it relates to your nervous system. And it improves, let's say, essentially fat oxidation. So your body's ability to utilize fat as a fuel source. So then you keep climbing up the ladder. So then we get more into the higher intensity work. And what does that do? That helps improve your mitochondria, right? Your energy producers, that type of thing. And on some levels, especially if you're a little bit more out of shape, it helps some metabolic factors, some hormonal factors as it relates to blood sugar control, that type of thing. So it's not as one is better than the other. It's like creating the right recipe. So the easiest way to explain it is, okay, the one you like the most, you use that as your anchor point. And you do that in the right amounts. So higher intensity, you might need a little bit less. You really don't. I say 2 every 14 days or max. Some research shows short term, let's say 3 a week, right? And then it's like, I can then sprinkle in those other things such as low intensity, steady state work. If that is something that I typically don't like, but it will become easier for me and I'll be better at it because of the high intensity work, because that also will improve my aerobic system. And then because I'm doing the lower intensity work, I'll recover more efficiently. Not just in between my high intensity work, but also during my high intensity sessions. So that will increase adherence. And then if we flip that, if you're like, oh, Joe, I hate doing high intensity work, but I'm like, look, promise you do it once a week. You're going to feel better. You're going to start to look better. It utilizes also a different fuel source, like that burn, that lactic acid is not actually a bad thing. It has a lot of beneficial effects for us. I just need you to do it sometimes. You're like, damn, I just really like low intensity work. I'm like, hey, guess what? Due to the lower intensity work, you're going to actually be better at recovering during the high intensity work, even if we can't get your power output there yet in the high intensity work. But if we do that higher intensity work, you're actually going to see your numbers get better on that higher intensity work, and everything's going to come together as it relates to your body composition, energy levels, that type of thing.
Yeah, I just heard look better.
Yeah, see, then that's fine. You don't need it. That's the thing. You don't need to know all the other BS. You don't need to know.
Everyone has different motivators.
Everybody want to look good.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, it'll help you look good.
But at this stage too, like I think everybody can relate. You know, you get older and you start to have different motivators.
Sure.
It's like I want to prolong my quality of life and I want to remain healthy and all of these things.
Yeah, but like
with summer coming, you hear the little look good.
Everybody want to look good. And if you have the right mix of those different types, you're going to look good.
Is there a formula for everybody, or is it like could you get two people like me and one other person, and like for whatever reason my body would respond
without a doubt
better to, okay, so what is that? Just different physiology?
Yeah, I mean, they call it, some people are exercise non-responders to certain degrees. Some people respond differently to inputs of nutrition. Some people respond differently to different rep schemes. So it's basically like we have frameworks on the macro level, and then that again, it goes back to what we said. After we diagnose, we then integrate, and then we keep assessing. We test and retest. So you can respond totally different, and that's why it's on people not to get caught up in gross generalizations. It's their frameworks. They're frameworks that work for everyone. And then how it works in real time, you can then update. So that's why I think that is one benefits of wearables if you don't let them take over you. But even keep a journal, like start to understand those little type of things, a workout journal. But yeah, people do respond differently. And that's why I'm very big on providing frameworks, because you could always shift those frameworks.
Yeah, you can tweak.
Yeah,
things.
You could tweak.
Yeah. Is there something that the celebrities or athletes that you have worked with do differently than us regular people?
They diagnose.
Yeah.
Like if you have PCOS, I'm going to train you differently than somebody that doesn't.
Yeah.
If you have,
I do. So how would you train me?
See what I'm saying? So you're
the stress,
your hormonal levels are a little bit different.
Yeah.
So you would you can't lose weight too fast.
Yeah.
That's actually something that's huge there, because you do see irregularities as it relates to hormones and menstrual cycles and things like that when individuals lose weight too fast.
Mm-hmm.
And your hormonal response might be a little bit different. So like long-term kind of carbohydrate restriction probably wouldn't be the best thing for you, because you need a little bit more fast-acting energy, that type of thing. But celebrities understand, one, they have teams, they have whole teams.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that doesn't get talked about enough. They, like athletes, understand a little bit more, pro athletes, the benefits of rest. So they're resting a lot, and they're also using a lot of recovery modalities everybody doesn't have.
You talked about that in the last episode, and I thought that was so important, because you were like, they don't go hard all year long. They have seasons. And, I think that people, obviously aspire to be similar to these athletes or celebrities in whatever way, and forget that part, like there's an off season.
Everything is cyclical. And it's actually like one of the key parts of my book, where it's like the rhythms of life. Like there's a cycle to everything. Like women already have that innately, So, but the thought process is like, you can't always go super hard, and you have to understand how to incorporate cycles. And that's one thing athletes and celebrities do very well. They understand the schedule, and especially athletes, and they apply a cycle to their well-being. They're not always going hard. They're not always taking off. But once you understand that, and then able to interpret it specifically for you, things go a lot better. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you don't always have to be on. Like sometimes the body does need a break. But I really do think if we take the patterns of understanding different cyclical applications, like I live in New York, so I'm not going to try to get a summer body in the winter. I'm not. I'm just going to set the framework, because I believe the external things that are acting upon me as it relates to weather, as it relates to light patterns, as it relates to food availability, is going to make it harder for that anyway. So according to where I am, I'm going to eat and train a little bit differently. And then when the seasons start to shift, okay, there's a cycle to everything. We then start to incorporate things a little bit differently. And I think if people are able to look at their schedules a little bit more as cycles, I know during this time, I'm going to really focus. I know during this time, I have a little bit more time to chill. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. Things go a little bit better.
It's different when you live in a year-round place like LA. I mean, Miami, those people are
but then,
committed.
All right, so LA, Miami, that's the thing too, is that, all right, so there's some very simple thought processes that exist in the fitness world that anybody could apply to their life, or performance world. First thing is called progressive overload. Progressive overload is a thought process that, say week over week or month over month, whatever, within my plan, I will increase some sort of stress variable a little bit, so I still keep improving. So whether that's how long you may run, whether that's how much weight you're lifting, sets, whatever. But then because of that, you also have what they call the deload periods, where there's periods where you have strategic breaks after you have progressively overloaded to make yourself feel better. There are other times where you have complete cessation, right? Because you need the body to recover. So those are two key concepts. Another key concept is something essentially called like supercompensation, where you just have a functional overreaching, which is the thought process of, and this is, if you know how to use this right, things do change, which there's intense periods of time where I actually want you to feel awful. I need to push you, but I will functionally overreach so that we will push strategically, but I won't push you into burnout. And then I will give you a long break because you just got a little bit worse. But then through that rest, you bounce back up. That's a concept called supercompensation. Within marathons training, we use it a lot with certain periods and also with like tapers. So again, that's a different type of cycle. But the overall concept is just something called periodization, which is a thought process of having periods of time where we have distinct frameworks for distinct outcomes. And if you're able to look at, you don't even have to go the whole year. If you say the next 3 months, all right, these 2 weeks, I'm really going to work hard. All right, the next 2, I'm going to take a little bit of time off, or I'm going to focus more so on recovery-based work, that type of thing. So you have a larger picture. It's not that I'm always doing the same thing all the time, or that only low intensity only works, or only high intensity only works. No, it's a cyclical rhythm, and everybody's is a little bit different. But there are certain frameworks that we have, and utilizing your intuition, other experts, and data that's now available over the counter for very cheap, you can create those frameworks for your life and understand your well-being so much better. And that's what I hope people start to understand more.
If you are strength training and you're actually trying to change your body composition, as we're talking about in this episode, meaning you want to build lean muscle, get stronger, feel tighter, creatine is one of the most researched and effective supplements that you can take. And despite popular belief, it is not just for men or bodybuilders. In fact, I feel like it's finally having the moment that it deserves, because creatine supports muscle strength, power output, and recovery, which means better workouts and better results over time. And for women especially, that matters, because building lean muscle is what gives you that toned, defined look that most people are chasing. So I've been taking creatine daily, and quality really matters here. A lot of supplements cut corners. They don't fully disclose ingredients, or they skip proper testing, which is why I used Momentous. Their creatine uses the purest form of creatine monohydrate. It's clinically backed, it's highly bioavailable, and made with no fillers or artificial sweeteners. And everything they make is independently tested and certified by NSF for sport or informed sport. So you know it's free of contaminants, and it's exactly what the label says. It's just a smarter, higher standards approach to supplements. I first learned about them through performance coach Andy Galpin, who was on the podcast in the beginning of January, who I really trust. And right now, Momentous is offering my listeners up to 35% off your first order with the promo code WELL. Head to livemomentous.com and use the code WELL for up to 35% off your first order. That's livemomentous.com, promo code WELL. We are talking a lot in this episode about resetting for spring when it comes to our health and wellness habits, but spring is also when I go into full closet reset mode. I am editing what I actually wear. I'm clearing out pieces that don't fit my style anymore and making space for lighter, elevated staples for summer. And the Real Real is my go-to for both sides of that process, both buying and selling. So when I'm shopping, I love that you can find pieces from the brands that I already love. They have everything from Gucci to Prada, Louis Vuitton, Cartier, so many more, often up to 90% off retail. And everything is authenticated by their team of luxury experts so that you can shop resale with total confidence. It's how I find some of these really special vintage summer pieces that feel elevated but still smart. And what I really love is how easy they make selling. So if you're doing a spring clean out, they handle everything: photography, pricing, copywriting, shipping, customer service. You literally send in your items and they take it from there. And with over 40 million fashion lovers shopping the site, pieces actually move. It is just a smarter way to refresh your closet, to edit, sell, and reinvest in pieces that you will actually wear. And now you can get $25 off your first purchase when you go to therealreal.com/well. That's therealreal.com/well to get $25 off. Start shopping now at therealreal.com/well. They are the most trusted name in authenticated luxury resale with over 10,000 new arrivals daily. Nobody does it like The Real Real. And that's what I think gets lost. And especially like you gave the 3-month example. Okay, that takes us to June, right? I'm sure everybody is like, okay, 3 months, I'm going to go hard. And then I'm going to have my summer body. And you're like, no. 2 weeks, try resting. Like I know that there's, a huge thing around rest and recovery where people feel like they're losing progress if they incorporate that.
What a doctor told me, this guy, Dr. Sachin Panda, he wrote the circadian code. And I interviewed him for a GQ article, and he was talking about the digestive system as it relates to circadian rhythms. And he said you cannot repair a road while the traffic is on it. And you got to think about that also with your life, which is the thought process of like, your body's not going to repair while you're still trying to race. So once you take that step back, the body does start to build better. Everybody has their own different recovery rhythms, right? Their allostatic load, that type of thing. But you can't repair while the cars are running. So it's really understanding. For some people, they could go 4 weeks hard, right? Some people only could do 2. Other people could go 6. I just think that it goes for each person if they understand their strategic patterns. And then it could also help you not get bored, because then I don't always have to stick with the same workouts. Or if you're somebody that likes to explore more, or if you're somebody that's just like, I just want to figure out what works for me, that'll happen too. But yeah, there's a rhythm to everything, and to not kind of tap into that, that's what makes it harder for most people.
Once somebody has the technical tools, which we kind of just gave them, right? What's the 3-month plan? 2 days of strength, 2 days of cardio.
All right. So first, then you have to go into how are we assessing? So where are you? Are you somebody? All right. So we'll give a couple different archetypes. First one is somebody that usually wants to lose a little bit of weight. So if you had a 3-month plan where you want to lose weight, you think about, for that person, the most important thing is diet. So we talk about the concept of diet. We think about the thought process of, okay, if we're going to have a really 2-week onboard period where we're going to reduce calories, but not that much. So I'll probably have them in a 500, 800 deficit. So, and then for the workouts, we're just going to make sure that we just get the body moving. So the thought process with that is more so, especially if you don't work out that much, is again, the lower intensity steady state and medium intensity steady state work consistently, just without that much rest, will burn more calories technically than a strength training workout. So in the beginning, I want to get people in shape, and then I don't want to stress them out essentially too much with high intensity work. So I would say focus on your diet, and then really just focus on low to medium intensity cardio, 1 day of strength training per se, and then just really just get used to that rhythm. Then from there, we'll start to pick up the intensity. So after that, we'll then keep going. Then we'll introduce more high intensity work. There's 2 options here, depending upon how your weight loss responded. After the first couple of weeks of that caloric deficit, you could either keep it or you could even cut it more. And this is just short term. This isn't long term. So that 2 week, cut it more. And then we're really going, we're pushing hard. Then your body is going to be like, I need a break. And that's when we have essentially a little bit of a maintenance or refeed period where we get you closer and consuming more calories, but also get you moving more. So that goes back to the energy flux concept, which is sustained weight loss is the result of moving enough and actually nourishing the body. So we have a caloric deficit that's done through activity, not through a stark reduction actually in pure calories through intake. And that for a lot of people will make sure they're resting, energy expenditure, metabolism stays where it needs to be. There's a lot of debate on this, but there was a very interesting research or study that came out. You remember Curves?
The
old
gym?
school. Yeah, Curves the gym.
Oh my God, I haven't thought of that in forever.
They put the individuals there on a 2-week, really a 2-week diet, really cut calories some more, then raise the calories. And they saw that, coupled with the workouts they were doing, they saw that it kept the resting energy expenditure metabolism high, or relatively where it needed to be. And they still had weight loss. So it goes back to, that was like early research into that energy flux concept. So if that's your goal, if you're really just trying to tone up, look good, that type of thing, and you're already eating well, that's just focusing in on like 4 weeks. You're like, I am going to work out perfectly. I'm going to work out perfectly. I'm going to keep eating great. And then after that, you then kind of recalibrate with what you're supposed to need to do. But that, again, it goes to 2 weeks of strength, 1 day of heavy, another day of more like just circuit training based work, 1 to 2 days of high intensity, 2 days of medium to lower intensity based work. And then you could add in the Pilates and things like that here and there. But yeah, add in the Pilates. Pilates is active recovery, unless it's a really hard class. Then treat it as a strength training day, technically. But the key really is simply this: treat it as your training camp. That's what we take from athletes. The thought process of, I have 4 to 6 weeks where I'm going to lock in. Everything is perfect. The sleep is great. The mindfulness is great. The recovery tools are great. I'm going to be eating well and I'm going to be working out hard. And that's your training camp. And then if you really just lock in with that, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause I was going to ask you, like, once somebody has the technical tools, what stops people then from being consistent? But that comes down to like mindset.
I think because they think they got to do it forever.
Yeah.
Which is like,
that's true.
For me, I just think of, all right, day one.
Yeah.
And then I get to the next day, day two.
Yeah.
And I get to the next day, day three. I'm like, all right, now we starting to stack days. And then just see how your body responds. I mean, you know, I don't think we really have to overcomplicate it. It's really, for the most part, it's just like, don't do too many hard days back to back. You could always add on the hard days, but to stress your body out and then have it recover, that's where the difficulty lies. Like, if we push you into burnout, the time it takes for especially the female body to recover from that is so tough. So remember, we could always up the intensity. It's very hard to scale it back once you've already hurt yourself. So the key things really is just like strategic overload and adherence. Just remember, the big three is this cardio work and when we talked about conditioning of the different intensity levels, strength training, just do one day that's a little bit heavier than the other with compound lifts, and the other day, well, it's fine. Just treat Pilates as strength training, or just go and do circuit training with some weights, and then just start to really just work in the recovery modalities. But yeah, conditioning, strength training, get your group classes in there, and make sure you're eating real well. And you'll be fine. The biggest mistake that people do, though, is just having too much intensity too soon.
I was going to say, it sounds like it really comes down to restraint.
It does. Yes. Actually, you're completely correct.
Yeah.
You are completely correct.
And it's hard to have because sometimes you get that momentum and then you feel like really good and you want to keep going and going and pushing. And then, you know, it has a detrimental
Once you fall, it is towing the line. It's towing the line between understanding that, but you do need slight restraint. So that's the best way to look at it.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask you a couple rapid fire here at the end. Let's see if there are ones that we didn't cover. Oh, what is the best free fitness tool most women are not using?
Oof. Best free fitness tool most women are not using, I would say.
Very specific question.
If you do not have a history of an eating disorder, I would use Chronometer, which is essentially, it allows you to track your food, not because I think you have to be myopically focused on that or too intense on that, but most people totally underestimate the amount that they eat or don't estimate properly. So if you have a better understanding of like how much I'm actually eating and what's in that food, that leads to intuitive eating to me. So I would say, if you don't have a history of eating disorder, Chronometer. Other than that, underrated tool, app wise, I mean, a journal. I think like just an analog journal of writing down your workouts, have a gratitude practice, that type of thing. So it gives you a better view, dynamic view of what you're doing.
You're going to hate this one.
Uh-oh.
The one exercise you would do if you could only do one for the rest of your life.
Man, one exercise, jump rope.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Checks a lot of boxes, right?
Checks a lot of boxes.
Okay. What do you want women to feel in their body that they might not feel right now?
Strong, sturdy.
Yeah.
Like, vitality.
What is the biggest green flag in someone who's about to make a fitness transformation?
That they've bought in, that they're excited, that like they're ready, they just show up and they're ready to go. Or the biggest green flag too is that they're asking questions. Because once you ask questions, that means you really invested.
What's the most overrated piece of gym equipment?
Oof. Most overrated piece of gym equipment? Damn, that's a really good question. Overrated. The Pec Fly machine.
Is that this
yeah.
thing?
Pec Fly machine. It's like, go do some cable rows or a Sven press. Most people ain't using that.
Let me see if I have a last one to end on.
I know we're running out of time, but we gotta answer the question about carb cycling.
Carb cycling.
That was the biggest question.
All right. Carb cycling, yes or no?
Yes. I mean, that was probably the biggest question we got from last episode. So carb cycling is basically like the strategic changing of carbohydrate intake, substrate intake to change hormonal responses, maybe metabolic output, performance output, that type of thing. But for a lot of women, it's basically the thought process that there are certain days we eat less carbs, certain days we eat more. So we eat less carbohydrates on days that are of lower intensity. And then on days where we're going to be going a little bit harder, we have a slightly higher intake of carbohydrates. But it's not like a cheat day. It's just like high quality carbohydrates. So think fiber rich fruits, vegetables. That's those that you tolerate the most. The thought process with that is essentially a few things. One, we look at it in 3 different ways: aesthetics, then fitness, and then just like pure health. From an aesthetics-based standpoint, sometimes when you are constantly under consuming carbohydrates, what women want to do is look lean without essentially the excess mass, but you'll look flat. So if we're able to replenish glycogen stores or utilize the carbohydrates to make the muscles look slightly more full, you'll look better rather than just kind of looking haggard, for lack of a better term, because
skinny fat.
Yeah, skinny fat. And then you'll just be like a little bit more tired. So that goes back into kind of looking at it from a health-based standpoint. The modulating of that carbohydrate intake, especially if somebody is overweight, it can have some benefits as it relates to their insulin signaling. So they could have better blood sugar control, and they could start to have what we call metabolic flexibility, which is the thought process to be able to strategically, the body switch between, beta oxidation or fat as a main fuel source versus, glucose. And then from there, we also think of it as hormonal responses. Not everybody's sold on this. Like, the body of research on carb cycling needs to get a little bit more robust, but thyroid is big right now. Everybody, all the Peters out there that might be listening to this, that's all over Twitter. But the thought process that you need that carbohydrates and sugars to help maintain thyroid health. So if we have those moments of those refeed days and then or higher carbohydrate days, it can also, some people think, help with leptin, which basically feelings of satiety, feelings of fullness, a specific hormone associated with that. And there are also just certain nutrients found in carbohydrate foods that will be good for us, micronutrients and things of that nature. So we think about it like that. It's like, okay, we know if we reduce carbohydrates sometimes, eat a little bit more protein occasionally, that will still feel full, we'll be in a better caloric deficit. Then we still know we up carbohydrates on higher intensity days because that will reintroduce foods that we just might like. So increase adherence. It will keep our hormones healthy. It will improve energy levels. And then overall, we'll still have that net, at least in the medium term, the net caloric restriction that then will result in that weight loss while still maintaining our underlying positive health. So carb cycling really is the easiest. For a lot of people, it leads to, again, better adherence, caloric deficit, but still maintains the overall body's high quality kind of health patterns. So that's what I use with a lot of the VS women and a lot of my clients. Essentially that thought we set up. It goes back to everything is cycles. And with a lot of women, a lot of the times we have that ability where we see their energy levels are there. They're able to push a little bit more. And again, it goes back to those feelings of vitality. So it's very simple. It's just simply, shifting your carbohydrate intake depending upon your intense days. And just making sure you're still getting carbohydrates from nutrient-dense foods. And it's very helpful.
Thank you for remembering that.
Yeah, that was the biggest question.
Doing my job for me. I can't wait for your book to come out. I cannot wait to read it. I can't wait to have you back on 3P.
No, thank you. It was a pleasure.
And tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Joe Holder, at Exercise Snacks as well. If you just want some workout stuff, on Twitter at Joe Holder _ And if you want the newsletter, that's on designyourself.world. That's the title of the book.
We'll link all of that in show notes to make it easy. Thank you.
Thank you.